Hello and welcome back to the Football Snapshot. I'm Lewis Nolan and I'm previewing a Liverpool game because Liverpool are playing Spurs on Sunday in the Premier League. I guess it's a game really where the less worst team will probably win because obviously Liverpool have been awful this season. They're sixth in the Premier League, 48 points. But if we look at Spurs, they're 16th. They have 29 points and they're only 1 point outside the relegation zone. And to be honest, this is a very, very important week for them because if Nottingham Forest win, if West Ham beat Man City, they could be in the relegation zone by the end of match week, especially if they lose to Liverpool. But more importantly, obviously they have the return leg, a home leg against Atletico Madrid in the Champions League, and having lost 5-2, you'd expect them to go out. And, in ordinary circumstances, you could say that they could throw their best 11 into that game, but more realistically, they can't. Apart from the injuries, they're going to be playing Nottingham Forest the following weekend, and considering the position the Spurs are in, they can't really afford to throw away any Premier League game. So I know that Spurs come into this Anfield match with lots of injuries, but they will almost certainly play their strongest possible 11 against us, rest plenty of players against Atletico Madrid, and then you know, do their best to beat Nottingham Forest. But saying that, I don't care what team Spurs throw out. Liverpool should still be winning, especially because I did mention the injuries there. They are extensive. They are brutal because there could be up to 12 players missing. And here's a list of some of the players that will actually be missing out. Mickey van der Ven, Radu Dragonson, Christian Romero, João Palhinha, Ives Bissouma, Conor Gallagher, Dejan Kulusevski, James Maddison, Mohamed Kudus, Destiny Udogie, Lucas Bouvard, Wilson Odobert, Rodrigo Bentancur, and Ben Davis. And there's a couple there that probably wouldn't really be playing or wouldn't really be getting that many minutes. But if you actually, their depth behind, say, in their centre back positions is completely gone. And it's the equivalent of us, not in terms of quality, but it's definitely the equivalent of us missing Van Dijk, Konate, the backups to those two, and probably Archie Gray will be using the back line, certainly in central defence. I know Igor Tudor plays a back three, but who he can even throw? Kevin Danso will play there too. Archie Gray. It's not looking good for the defence. And speaking of Igor Tudor, David Ornstein had a report basically saying that Spurs, it was like a preemptive brief basically saying to Spurs fans, don't worry, we know we're going to lose by 3 or 4 on the weekend, so he'll be gone though, because they said like they're looking for candidates. And yeah, I mean, Igor Tudor's 4 games in charge. The first game against Arsenal, Premier League leaders, North London derby, it's difficult. They're a much better team than you. I get it, you have loads of injuries, but it wasn't. I remember the performance outside of, like a couple phases where they caused Arsenal some problems with pressing once Arsenal got used to it, once they played more directly, things like that, once they moved around a lot, Spurs players didn't know who to commit to. They struggled with the man-to-man pressing thing. They lost 4-1 at home, and look, as debuts go, you probably couldn't get tougher in the Premier League, but at the same time, come on, fix up a bit. Yeah, don't play so naively when this team is so low on confidence and things like that. And then afterwards, they go to Fulham, another London derby, technically. They lose 2-1 at Craven Cottage. Um, and if that wasn't bad enough, then, another London derby, Crystal Palace at home. And you think, I mean, the game started well. I was watching the game. The game started well. They go 1-0 up. They have Chris, Crystal Palace probably score. Was an offside goal, which, was a nose off, but like whatever. But then Mickey van der Ven, he Crystal Palace, he gives away a penalty, he gets himself sent off, and Crystal Palace obviously score. They go on to win the game 3-1. But it was such a stupid red card, and I remember watching and I'm thinking, yeah, I do not want this guy anywhere near Liverpool because you would obviously seen the links to him. But yeah, he's so clumsy, and yeah, just keep him away from Liverpool. Put it that way. But yeah, and then obviously the 5-2 loss against Atletico Madrid. So 4-1 against Arsenal, 2-1 against Fulham, 3-1 against Crystal Palace, 5-2 against Atletico Madrid. Yeah, they're awful. And look, Liverpool are awful. I don't expect Liverpool to keep a clean sheet, but if Liverpool can't put at least 3 or 4 goals past them, and I'm sorry, it's just this is the perfect opportunity for Verts. This is a perfect opportunity for Ekitike, Salah, Frimpong, whoever plays in attack, just to actually get onto the score sheet. So I do expect a comfortable Liverpool win, but something that might actually make the performance much worse, and something that might make the performance much more, I guess, hard to watch will be if Arne Slot doesn't get his selection choices right because there are a couple pieces, a couple players that might come into the team. Arne Slot has obviously been saying that Rio Ngamo is ready to play one of the three upcoming games for Liverpool. If I had to choose, I'd probably say start him against Galatasaray because I understand that he's a 17-year-old, so you don't want him playing twice a week yet. Even though I know, Lamine Yamal can do it, I know other teenagers have done it, but you want to save his legs as much as possible. So I would, if I had a choice, play Ngamo against Galatasaray, but I wouldn't be against bringing him into the Premier League game against Spurs because you do need the win. But probably the bigger choice for me is Curtis Jones because you would have seen the links to Inter Milan recently, and you would have seen that Arne Slot has basically put him to one side in favor of Alex McAllister and Ryan Gravenberch. And I'm a massive Alex McAllister fan, and I was very impressed by the steps forward that Ryan Gravenberch took last season. But both of them have been awful this season, and they neither of them deserve a place in the team. And if it was up to me, I'd like to see probably a double pivot more of Dominic Szoboszlai and Curtis Jones because I think we saw it against Brentford once, and I know we lost against Brentford, but the midfield is actually one of the aspects where I thought Liverpool played well. But nevertheless, moving on from that, I just want Curtis Jones in the team. I don't care if he plays as number 10. I don't care if he plays in midfield. I just want him there because he merits a place in the 11 based on how he's played over the course of the season, whereas others like McAllister and Gravenberch do not. But we all know that it's not going to happen, and look, maybe he'll get half an hour off the bench, but he didn't even step foot onto the pitch against Galatasaray, which I thought was stupid because Galatasaray pressed really high, they pressed really aggressively, and I don't think Spurs have the capacity to be as aggressive as Galatasaray. I think it would be I think it would be one of the worst things that could come to Anfield, pressing really aggressively, pressing really high, because as much as Liverpool don't really have that much of a threat in behind, Spurs do not have the players to consistently step up and mark every single player and cover the rotation. So yeah, maybe Curtis Jones won't be as needed as say he was against Galatasaray, but at the same time, I would still rather him in the team because he's playing very well this season. He's played very well this season, but I'm almost certainly expecting McAllister and Ryan Gravenberch playing double pivot. Vert was selected from the left against Galatasaray initially, but I like we all know that Arne Slot's going to select Cody Gakpo on the left. You know that Vert's going to play as number 10. And I'm fine with Vert's playing as number 10, but he first of all he needs to personally improve because he looks very timid at the moment in terms of when he tries to shoot. But you know, he played on the left for Bayer Leverkusen for the majority of his career, so it is what it is. But it's just the use of the players has like been baffling and confusing. But it is what it is. And Frimpong was on the bench against Galatasaray and obviously came off Mohamed Salah to play right wing. But hopefully, Arne Slot's brave enough to select Frimpong as a right back and then play Salah on the right as well because he obviously selected Joe Gomez away from home against Galatasaray. You'd kind of understand it, but yeah, just if there was ever a game that Arne Slot could like afford to let the handbrake off and play less risk averse, it would be this one because Spurs are awful at back. They don't offer that much of a threat going forward, even though I do think they will score. But it says a lot the fact that I'm quite not nervous heading to this game, but I wouldn't be surprised if the game was more difficult for Liverpool than it should be because Liverpool should be comfortably winning here. But do I expect them to win comfortably? I mean, yes, but I don't know whether that should be something that I should automatically be thinking because Liverpool have struggled. Liverpool lost against Galatasaray, Liverpool lost against Wolves, Liverpool struggled against Wolves in the FA Cup in the first half. The second half was better, but then it was also better because there were spaces there. And I don't want to parrot the line that Arne Slot says, but getting the first goal will be really important because maybe Spurs can put up a spirited display for 10, 20, 30 minutes. But as soon as the first goal goes in, as soon as something happens to drain their confidence, that's when they'll go. And that might be why they get relegated this season, by the way, because they do not know how to fight. They don't know how to fight a relegation battle. I know they were close to relegation last season, but they were never really in any danger of dropping into the relegation zone. They had the Europa League to focus on. But yeah, Spurs are awful. They're missing so many players, and look, Alexander Isak is on the way back, so hopefully he can boost the team. But in terms of starters, we're only really missing Conor Bradley and Alexander Isak, and I know that there's question marks about whether Alisson will play because he was obviously injured and came into the team. But if Liverpool can't beat Spurs because Mamardashvili's in goal because Conor Bradley's missing, and look, Isak is a big miss, obviously, but We did sign a £75 million striker in the summer as well in Ekitike, so Liverpool should have enough to beat Spurs. And I'm predicting, I probably shouldn't be, but I'm going to predict a 4-1 win. Am I confident Liverpool win 4-1? Not at all. But at some point, Liverpool just have to turn up and Liverpool have to actually play well at some point in this season. So if there was ever a game to do that, it's against Spurs because Spurs were awful. It's at Anfield, and hopefully Liverpool can get back on track and Liverpool can boost their chances of finishing in the top four or top five, as it probably is, and qualify for the Champions League. But we'll see on Sunday when Liverpool play Spurs. And also, as a last thing, if you would kindly like and subscribe, I would very, very much appreciate that because we're on the road to 100 subscribers, gained a few after the last video. So, I'm looking forward to seeing that number rise and rise and rise. And I will have more content coming out, and I will also have more, I guess, different types of content coming out as well. So, all I'll say is keep an eye out. But like I said, if you would subscribe, that would be very much appreciated. But thank you for watching.